Procedurally generated, permanent death, roguelikes allow their unique mechanics to be incorporated into any genre, resulting in a sea of diverse games with infinite possibilities. And with new unique roguelikes being released every single day, I like to play and analyze the ones that may not have had the chance to shine yet. If that sounds interesting, welcome to the series where we learn what works, what doesn't, and why, all in search to find the next big roguelike.
Once Upon a King. This seems to be a turn-based strategy chess roguelike. Now, I've played quite a few chess roguelikes, and I gotta be honest, none of them really got to what I would hope for in terms of a chess roguelike. A lot of them just use it as an excuse to make a fun strategy game. A lot of them are fun, but I was hoping to find an actual game that reminds me of chess while using some of the fun things you can do in video games. And what caught my attention with this particular game, first of all, the visuals look really fun. It looks pretty goofy. I think, honestly, most of the chess roguelikes are always in the goofy side, but it also tries to go for more of like a Slay the Spire approach, and with a lot more content and more of a dungeon crawler feel, I think at least. So in any case, definitely caught my attention, and let's go check it out. Okay, so we're immediately dropped in the tutorial page here. I'm already seeing just a traditional Slay the Spire map. Lovely. Let's check out our first combat. Ugh, we've got a story. That's me. Okay, place pawn jamming on the starting tile. Hey, we've got a tiny little chessboard. Lovely. 1 health, 1 armor. Looks like numbers are going to be pretty small in this game from my first impression from what I'm seeing here. To the exit door to open, this uses a key. So we've got mana for blessings, stay put, skip your turn. Pawn deals its power as damage to every piece it can capture. We have shards for shopkeepers. We have doors for chests and doors. And got a bit of information as how the pawn jamming works. Cool. All right. So far, pretty straightforward stuff. I did it! Don't worry, everybody. I am a professional gamer, so it is understandable that I can complete these things in very, very few moves. All right, let's get our combat. You can progress without using a key by capturing all the white pieces in the room. Be careful, they can also capture your pieces. I like that. So the keys can be used as just in case of emergency, you have to leave, or you can also keep them just to open chests. That's nice. Patrol indicates white's next move. White always moves first. Cool. When do they attack is my question. So actually, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to start here. Right click to see enemy patrol again. Remember, enemies will leave their patrol to capture. So the one thing I'm still very curious about is how does attacking work? And I mean, do I have to use mana to attack? Refreshes each room. So how do I attack if I don't have mana? So I'm safe if I just go here. I think we learned a valuable lesson here as to how combat works in this game. So the patrol, this is not dangerous, purely just movement. Cool. So if I go here, it moves here, and now I can just attack naturally or use my power as damage to every piece it can capture. So this is just more. I thought this was a default attack, but no, this is a default attack. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at the roguelike elements here. Hello there, sweetheart. Oh my goodness. Hello, angel. Piece pulls an enemy within 2 tiles, 1 tile closer. So I'm gonna just give this to anybody. Pile jumps over 1 non-furniture tile. Oh, it tells you which pieces can have this ability. Let's do the hop. This one, really? Yes, you got a problem with it? All right, we got another combat. All the white pieces move during white's turn. Yes, their numbers show the number of the order. Okay, so we have an order of the things. Okay, so I can't go here because otherwise you'll move and immediately attack. So they always move and attack on the same turn. Got it. Blessing costs mana to activate. The mana cost is indicated by to the right. Using a blessing doesn't end black's turn. Okay, so that's a free attack, I see. So if I go here, I'm good. Wait, what? Oh, right. They always automatically attack wherever they can hit. I see. Just want to double check something. If I do this, I lose, right? No? When do they attack? But this is not their turn right now, right? We're not on their turn, but if I move here, I die, right? Sorry, let me just, yeah, let me just put in my mind. Oh, because when I move, I immediately end my turn? Every time you move, you end your turn before you can even attack. That's what I just have to wrap my head around. Got it. Please jump over 1 non-furniture tile. I was gonna say I can't do that here. All right, let's go here. You do this. Oh, right, that's right. It doesn't take one of my turns. How do I kill this? Well, if I do this, I should be okay. There you go. All right. For some reason, my brain just right now can't fully conceptualize the fact that it's the opposite as the way I would think of it, where I would move and then do my stuff. Buy a piece to expand your army. Should probably cost more. Makes sense. This pawn comes with a thing. You can have up to 2 pieces in your army. Only 2 pieces? That's a very small amount. Well, maybe I can expand that army size. All right, let's take a look at another. Scroll to switch between your pieces. Got it. Thank you. So I can immediately go here, but then he's going to attack me and kill me. I wonder what happens if I lose a character. I don't know. Actually, theoretically, what I should have done is have him here. So, wait. Is he going to kill me? He does. So now it goes back here? Wait. Let me see. What's going on here? Interesting. So if I go here, I die. I can go here. Right. I can open this chest. Okay, opening a chest is an entire move. Got it. Do I have to grab that? So now I have 2 hit points. Okay, definitely a game I have to wrap my head around in order to fully comprehend the mechanics, but it makes sense. I just have to get comfortable with it. All right, and that's the tutorial. Nice. All right, we got our first official run starting. We've got a boss of it there. This is a very clear Slay the Spire vibe, which I'm totally fine with. Cool. Now, before I get started on the full run, I do want to mention a few things. First of all, this is an early access game. The early access just came out a few days as of recording this, so it's still quite fresh. And this is a team of 6 people that I believe mostly met at the Tilton College of Audio Visuals. So we have elites, butchers, blacksmith, raises pieces of HP and buy consumable potions, and cleric upgrade blessings and purify curses. We got a few mechanics. If I'm not mistaken, all of these things I have to purchase. Nothing is free. You're not given these specific things for free, so that is one thing to keep in mind. Also, the hit points, is that permanent for my little guy? Oh my goodness, wait a minute, my guy just permanently died from the tutorial. Oh, wow, wait, you lose your units permanently if they die? Oh boy, that is good to know. Wow. All right, let's just go here. So we got 2 pawns are moving left and right. This is how I do it. I go here, he moves, end of turn, I kill it. Cool, I got it, nice. So I can just go here and just calculate, just skip my turn, move here, now I'm good. All right, cool, easy. Do I even want an angel? I think my pawn already has enough abilities. I think I'm just gonna go here. Oh my goodness, that's so many pieces. So once again, if I do this and they start, I can immediately kill this guy. All right, do this. Oh, 3 turns. Interesting. 2 turns. Stay put. Move here. Can't pick up sack, potion bag is full. Hey, what do you mean? What? A single-use consumable that can be used, action-free, and mana-free. So, wait, I couldn't grab that because I had no space for it? There's no timer, so I'm fine to just take my time. Schmoops. Just move around, slowly but surely. All right, let's think about this. If I go down, I die. So I stay put, go here. All right. I got it. Man, losing your pieces permanently is pretty sad. How am I gonna get a piece? Where's the closest place I can get a piece? Is the only place I get a piece here? Ooh, what is this? Is that a queen? Wait, no, it's a rook. One thing I'm curious is, let's imagine I was here. Would that bishop that goes all the way here actually stop to kill me? I don't think so, because it's a one-time action, and I don't think they automatically kill you if they're on the path of whatever you're doing. I would imagine... Oh, 2 health. Hey, come back here, Rook. They seem to be patrolling back and forth, so theoretically this is pretty straightforward. There's no redo button. Interesting. Can you soft lock yourself? Cool. So here I can kill this guy. And he moves here. Then do this, and that should be it. There you go. All right, cool. Nice. Yeah, okay. Very differently than Slay the Spire in this instance, battle casualties are permanent. So, you know, losing health, losing pawns. So that means it's a pretty hard game mechanically in terms of, like, any mistake is pretty rough. Now I'll heal. Shoop. Which I guess healing in this instance, even though I want to keep it for later, actually, no, it's fine because I forgot that, I mean, like, again, damage is permanent. So if you can heal, that's a good idea. I think I have to use my barrage. I have a feeling considering there's only 2 possible state for enemies, makes me feel like you can easily get soft locked here. So I have to do this. All right, sure. Quite fancy. Toggle to flip the pawn's movement and capture. Wow, that's interesting. That's good. I have the money. I guess I'll do this. All right. I wonder how you can upgrade these stats. If I go here, I take damage. Fine. If I go here, I take damage. If I go here, I actually don't take damage now. So that's probably the option, right? Let's do it. Yeah, of course. That was so obvious. It's cool though, because it shows that, yeah, I can definitely just have to think this through. There's a lot of strategy with even just very minimal amount of options, really. Man, any mistake is just really, really dangerous. So what do we got here for 50? I guess doubling my damage is probably a pretty good option. I'd like to get more health, especially right now. It's max health, but it also gives me the health right now, which I do appreciate when they do that. Let's go to Butcher, because I don't know if there's another way for me to get pieces. Let's go to Knight. Knight is going to be confusing, but take it. Gain an ability for my little Knight to pull. Oh, but I have to make sure that this works. So it automatically gives it to this piece because I think it's the only one that was available. All right, boss time! Let's see a boss. Very curious how that's gonna go. That's a big boy. Hello. You have 8 health. You also come with braced. Immovable by force. It can't be blocked. Got it. Now, how do you attack? You're just like a massive pawn, right? I can't conceptualize how this is gonna go. Let's see. You can see like big squares. Interesting. Oh, very interesting. Music is pretty intense. Let's go here. So now, what happens if I just stay put? Now it can attack both my pieces. Whoops. So, well, you can already see I've screwed up. But it's okay. I'll just jump. So it's gonna move here. So this one needs to move here. And you need to... But if I attack, then I get squished. So I can't attack. So I have to go here. Shoot. Wait. So I'm gonna take damage here, right? On this guy. It moves here. No, it comes back. But how do I attack? Oh, wait. And now I take double damage. Right. So I screwed up again. All right. Goodbye, Knight. So I guess I can attack here in this instance. So now just go back and forth. Just being between these 2 squares seemed very safe, right? You managed to make literally every move a blunder. Yes, I know, and I was aware of that. I'm just trying to understand how the mechanics work. And so right now he attacks, so I can't do that. So I have to go back here. And now he attacks, so I have to move. And now I can't attack because otherwise he attacks me. And now he's gone. So let's see. Oh, shoot. I didn't realize you could go this. Right. I thought you... Oh, my bad. All right. Well, that's a GG. Trying to figure out, like, there seems to have been, like, a clear way to do this, but I couldn't conceptualize it very well. Is there meta progression in this game? I would imagine not, because the numbers are so low. Welcome to the barracks. You can go stronger, so there actually is meta progression. Really? Oh, that makes sense, I guess. So you can start with different pieces and everything. Let's see. Track missions. Who am I? Oh, cool. So we got our little lore stuff. Cool, cool, cool. It's not meta progression in terms of, like, you get stronger. You just have more options. That's cool. That makes sense. I'm only starting to grasp how the mechanics work and, you know, wrap my head around the strategies involved, but I'm getting an idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue playing on my own, and I will circle back with my overall thoughts on the game. So I ended up playing a couple more runs. We did beat the boss of the first floor, which felt great. We got to take a quick peek at the second floor, and it was nice to see that there seemed to be different visuals in terms of the biome and new mechanics. Got a few things I want to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. First thing is the audio visuals. So once again, this is clearly an early access game, and it seems to be early in its development in terms of quality of life things, little bugs, little bounce things here and there. These are usually not the things that I want to focus on, as these will obviously be addressed throughout production. So I really like the 3D aspect of the game currently. The fact that like the 3D environment within the gameplay is very satisfying and quite clear to see. And I also really like the 2D kind of art from the individual characters, and it kind of gives it a bit of immersion and helps with the whole story, which they seem to put a lot of effort into. I like that currently there are early concepts of the cutscenes, at least I think so, but it is really nice to see to get like an idea of what exactly is going on in this very interesting story that has a mixture of like seriousness but also goofiness with some of the names and everything. It's quite unique in that regard. I like it. Audio-wise, the music is good. It's quite straightforward. At times, I do feel like sometimes it might be maybe a little distracting with some of the melodic lines that do come up every single level. But overall, I actually do like the composition and the sound design overall. I like the boss theme. It's pretty intense. And when I was realizing that I was in trouble and the music was swelling, making it feel like I was really in trouble and it was despair, it was quite fitting, I would say. Let's talk gameplay. So once again, I've played a lot of these chess roguelikes, and in general, I do feel like a lot of them like to have the concept of chess but not really utilize it to its full potential, in my opinion. I will say here, I do like that it really does feel like chess. You'd be surprised. You'd think that's obvious, but here, if you know chess, you're actually going to probably do better in this game, because you really do have to think roughly the same way in terms of how you're going to have to maneuver certain pieces' movements, which was quite enjoyable. The turn-based system is quite interesting, and this is something that I've actually seen happen quite a few times in chess roguelikes, which is that a lot of turns you're going to really be thinking exactly how to move certain things, but then other turns you're going to just have to move things in an awkward way multiple turns in a row in order to just do one action. For instance, if I have a knight that I want to take down a piece, I'm going to have to move the knight here, then move it here, then move it here, so I can just finally get to the position to kill the enemy. This, I've realized, is a recurring kind of handicap that developers have to deal with when dealing with chess roguelikes, and specifically, I would say, is that you're going to sometimes get into situations where your player has to do a lot of actions just to do a single actual thing, which can sometimes be a little awkward depending on the scenario. I will say this has not happened too often in this game, and there are definitely a lot of options, which is quite nice, but we'll be getting into more details as we get through. The roguelike elements are fairly minimalistic, which also makes sense for a game like this that has a very strong core, right? Even without any roguelike elements, the gameplay is already quite satisfying from the start. Depending on the board and the pieces that you have and are facing, you're already going to have to actually really be paying attention to what you can do, even if you don't have any actual, roguelike stuff to deal with. That being said, as a roguelike enthusiast, I feel like it could have been a little bit more in the roguelike category. So one thing I love about turn-based and strategy roguelikes are the passive effects that affect the core gameplay and really let it expand the strategies and the core elements. Now, obviously, this does take inspiration from Slay the Spire in terms of the progression through the run. Going through a map, you have to select it, there's different tiles, blah, blah, blah. But I do wish that there was more that would occur the further you go through fights. So in Slay the Spire, for instance, every time you clear an enemy, you're going to be giving a card. Now, obviously, Slay the Spire really is dependent on these roguelike elements, and in a game like this, not so much, again, since the core gameplay is already very satisfying. But I do wish that the further along I would go, the more I had things to play with. Now, the only difference I've seen so far in terms of what happens the further along you go into different battles is that there's just more enemies to deal with, and once you get to the second floor, there's just more obstacles to deal with and mechanics that are specific to the biome, right? So I do wish there were a few more passive abilities that would let you play around with more options, because even though I did say that there were different options that you could do every turn, you are going to get into situations currently where it seems quite likely that you can get soft locked without any fault of yours, unless you could think really, really, really early on, like 3 turns ahead, which the more skilled you are at this game, the better you're going to do, clearly, which is awesome. But I do feel like the game is quite punishing. Very, very punishing for that matter. And that's linked to two things. First of all, again, the fact that you can very easily get soft locked from the fact that you can have 2 or 3 choices as to where you can position your units early, and you can only move one at a time. So even for the boss that really takes the entire arena, the fact that I can only place 2 units at the very bottom and I can only move one at a time, it does seem like I will eventually pretty much guarantee losing a life or taking damage even if I play it perfectly. And it seems like I got into situations where I was almost guaranteed to take damage even if I played well. So that's why I wish there was more options to play with, whether it was more passive effects that were given to the pawns or just overall passive effects in general, or that you could position your units almost freely around the entire arena at the start. I'm sure the developers have tested this kind of mechanic, and I'm willing to bet that it would be uneven currently, but it felt very, very limited and very punishing through my little bit of experience playing. And the other reason why this game feels very punishing as well is because of the health system. This is a game where every damage you take, anything that you lose is permanent. Kind of like the robot in Gungeon. That seems like a very far-fetched comparison, but it's the same feeling. When you play the robot in Enter the Gungeon, every time you take damage, it's permanent. And when you don't play the robot, it's much more stress-free, even though the game is still quite hard. This situation feels very challenging, considering that any tiny mistake can just instantly lose your primary character. Not only because any health loss is permanent, but also because you start with only 1 health per character, at least at the start of playing this game, which is, wow, that is punishing. And once you lose a character, it's gone forever. And I have a feeling that that system, while very cool if you're very experienced and very comfortable with strategy game, I could imagine it being quite frustrating if putting a lot of work into one character and then you do one misplay, misclick out of all the things you have to keep track of, and then you lose your strongest character, but you're already like halfway through a run and you're like, screw this, right? I lost my glass cannon kind of guy. It was your fault, clearly, but I do think they could potentially tone it down a little bit in terms of difficulty and maybe add more difficulty after having cleared a run with actual difficulty modifiers like a lot of roguelikes do. But yeah, currently it felt very challenging, which I enjoy, but I could imagine could be a little stressful for a lot of people that start playing the game. Taking a quick break from the gameplay specifics, I want to mention 2 really cool things. First off, the freaking pun of the title is fantastic. That's honestly one of the main reasons that I picked this game to start off with. That's not one of the main reasons, obviously, but mostly because I'm very intrigued in chess roguelikes, because I think they all have, again, a lot of handicaps to deal with, right? But I love the pun, and again, I do appreciate the story aspect in a game like this, where they try to, they put a little mystery behind everything, and in the hub, there's even like an entire board, like a whole mystery behind it. I like it. I do think there should potentially be an option to skip dialogue entirely, if need be. Not for me, but I know some people sometimes just want to get straight to the gameplay and don't want to get disrupted by pacing. I thought it was really cool to just see all the different characters. It makes you care for them much more, especially when they die. And I actually realized that even during runs, if one of them died, at one point, like, no, don't die. It's like, oh my gosh, no, I feel bad. I appreciate that. I like the fact that there were actual cutscenes when I didn't expect them to be. So overall, when looking broadly at the game currently in its state, I would say that this is actually a really cool concept for a chess roguelike. I'm very intrigued in the gameplay. I do think that it is quite punishing, can get a little slow, and can feel at times even unfair when you get soft locked. These are things that I could imagine being adjusted by potentially giving more options to players, especially at the beginning of a fight when all the enemy pawns are there. I also think that some of the boards have too many enemies when you get closer to the boss. I understand that the difficulty needs to be there to make things more and more intense, but it did feel sometimes it would take a long time to just clear a board, even though I was pretty much certain to win, but just I had to kill one pawn at a time and I had to be careful. So I could see a world where the pacing was a little different, but just lowering the amount of enemies when you get close to the boss, maybe giving them more health would help, and finding other ways to make it more challenging, as opposed to just having 10 enemies when you have only one piece that you have to then strategically move things to just not get hit. But I really like the concept they're going for. There seems to be quite a lot of content already from the fact that there were cursed passives, which I've only seen once, which I love. This design, to me, this design of risk versus reward is a core element of roguelike, so I really like that. There were different shops. I will say, currently in the map, I'm not too sure how the icons of what you can encounter are programmed, but it did feel a little too random in the way where sometimes I would get a bunch of fights and then just 4 shops in a row, which you don't see that in Slay the Spire naturally, because you don't want to have 4 shops in a row, because then you're not going to be able to use your money correctly, which in this case makes sense considering that all the other tiles outside of combat seem to be ways to spend money. So having a bunch of ways to spend money in a row, I think is a little awkward at times. One thing that I think is missing from Slay the Spire in this instance are event tiles. Now, maybe I didn't find an event tile, but I think event tiles are really, really exciting and very, very fun. And to me, core to turn-based kind of roguelikes, where you're given an event, especially in a game that tries to focus on lore. That really helps in the immersion to actually write an event. It's like, you're now like, you see a passing of a bunch of pawns. What do? Do you try to attack it, 50% chance to blah, 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 or you try to go somewhere else, blah, blah, blah. These kind of event tiles are really, really cool in my eyes. Obviously, they require quite a bit of work to just have to create a bunch of events, but ultimately, it's simple because it's just some writing, text, a little image, and just click 2 options and you get something happening. I think that game would benefit from having stuff like that and maybe reducing the amount of shops available. But again, this is just from a very limited amount of playtime. The game has a system where the player can always see what the enemy's intents are, which is great. That's part, obviously, of the strategy of the game, but that can be a little confusing. Visually, especially when you first start playing a map and you have a bunch of units, you can see the lines, but when there's like 10 things going next to each other, it's really, really hard to follow. So I do wish that they would just color code slightly, or just different ways to differentiate through the different units. I think that would help. When a unit is about to attack you, it can be also a little confusing because sometimes it will tell you if one unit's going to attack, but the other one maybe not. This is specific to the boss itself, for instance, but when it's split up, it wouldn't tell you exactly where it would move. And if it was going to attack you, then you wouldn't know if it was going to move afterwards. These are very small details, but again, small details in a game like this are pretty crucial considering that any mistake can be a run ending. I do wish there was kind of like a combo system where just a way to actually reward good playing. Currently, when you kill units, you just get a set amount of money, I think. I do feel like it is very satisfying to kill enemies in a row, and I think it would be nice to have a combo system that maybe lasts 2 turns, and that would also be another way to add more items, since now you have an extra mechanic to work with. Now you could have a relic that would increase the turn limit of your combo, and the more you kill things, more things happen. That would also add more risk versus reward elements, since you could be greedy and try to attack faster and faster and get everything grouped up, but then you might be more likely to also take damage. There is a cool system where enemies do drop loot bags, and that's nice because I never know what to expect from them, mostly keys, but sometimes you get other stuff. Unfortunately, it did occur to me that those loot, sometimes you are 100% guaranteed to not grab it, depending on which unit you are currently playing and the positioning they're in, which felt pretty bad because when you see a loot and you're like, oh, I just cannot grab that, there's nothing I can do, that felt a little sad. And again, I think that it ties into the fairly limited amount of options that the player is given. Now, I didn't touch on the abilities that the game offers. I think some abilities are really powerful, and I think others are a little too situational. It also feels like, again, it's just another balanced situation where even upgrading some abilities felt quite unbalanced compared to others. I like the abilities, but I think should be abilities that are even more broad to really help players do different options. I want to touch on the boss a little bit more. I love the boss mechanic. I think the idea behind the boss's mechanic is really, really interesting, and you really have to wrap your head around it, and the more you can conceptualize it, the more you can understand it, the better you'll get at it, and then you'll get rewarded for it. That felt great. But again, it was another case of the boss feeling quite unbalanced for a first boss scenario. And one thing I've noticed is just generally, that boss, if you have 2 units, is going to be harder. And in general, a lot of times, the stronger you are as a team, the more you should be rewarded, right? If you have 2 units, you should be stronger. And in this case, having more units made the fight harder. Obviously, that is just a statement. There's not much you can do about it currently unless you really tweak things here and there. And some people would say that that's not a big deal. But to me, it felt a little punishing once again to not be given an advantage by having more resources. It was actually more of a punishment. So that's why I realized I had to sack one of my characters, because I realized like I just could not control 2 at the same time for that first boss. I could understand that being more of a mechanic later on, but for the first boss, the fact that I had to sack one of my units most of the time because I couldn't move both at the same time, and the boss was taking the entire arena was sad. That being said, again, I really love the mechanic, even if I thought it was a little overtuned. I think chess roguelikes just rely too much on their core mechanic and don't really expand using roguelike elements. Again, there's a good reason, since again, the core elements usually are quite strong, but I think this game has the potential of really pushing that further, and with all the different shops and the different abilities and units, I think there's definitely room for this game to be, honestly, one of the more interesting chess roguelikes out there. We have the developer in chat, so I'm just going to see any notes that they've noted. Would you describe it as needing more room for error in the beginning or modify the difficulty? I would say, honestly, a combination of both. I would say, personally, for beginners, because I know that even though I did struggle to understand at the beginning, I still think I'm quite comfortable with strategy games in general, and I still felt very, very challenging, even though it was at the very beginning of the game. I think giving even units by default 2 health would potentially, to me, be a better start. And then also opening up the starting tile options to potentially even go on the side of the entire map, or not having as many furniture would help. I think those 2 would really help, especially for the first world, especially at the beginning of when you're starting to play. We're definitely working on the turn action economy. Nice. There was almost a world where I wonder if this game, instead of giving you more health, where you had X amount of rewind, where you, like, per floor, you have 1 or 2 rewind options, where if you do something and then you realize you did a mistake, you can rewind it, but you can only do like twice a floor or something like that, which could actually resolve the punishing factor, but not giving health to the player. I don't know. Again, these are just random ideas I'm spitting out, but in general, I do think that the game could be a little bit more beginner-friendly at the beginning. You mentioned a bunch of things we've been working on lately. Wonderful. Again, that's the beauty of early access games, and I believe that's what was mentioned when I read some of the details of the development of this game, is that putting a game in early access to try to get feedback from players and anybody. So I really respect that, and I think this game is on a really good track. Once again, thank you so much for sending us your game. If you're interested in sending us any of your demos, early access games, feel free to do so by filling up the form in the description below. We really appreciate it. And yeah, that's about it.